Notes. All right, we are live. Hello, and welcome to the Lion Show. It's your host, your favorite coach, Robert Lyon. All right, today we're going to be talking about how to think bigger. All right, give me 2 seconds so I can go live on all the things, and then we'll kick this bad boy off. All right, so this is cool. I'm excited. Thanks you guys for listening and tuning in. You're going to be seeing a lot of me. This is going to be happening. All right, today's topic, though, is how to think bigger. All right, this is serious because our life is a direct reflection of our thinking, right? So if you think small, your life will stay small. We have to fully understand and embrace the fact that we have to think bigger, right? Whatever number or whatever your big, hairy, audacious goal is, it has to be hairy. You need to think bigger. You need to go for the next level up. And the reason that this is so important is because it takes the same amount of energy to think small as it does to think bigger. And if you start to really understand that you have an unbelievable opportunity, an unbelievable amount of bandwidth, right, that you can actually do, and an amazing chance to be more and do more with your life, the fact of the matter is you have to start to think bigger. Okay. The most unbelievable thing that can happen to you is you start hanging around with people that are doing way better than you are, right? If you start to hang out with people that if they were making what you're making, they would be totally upset. You know that you're starting on the right path. But like usually when people think bigger, they typically just think of money, right? They're like, oh, if I could make $100,000 a year, that would be crazy, right? And I'm telling you right now, you need to think bigger. You need to add a zero onto that. If you're thinking $1,000,000 a year, you need to add a zero onto that. And the key thing that comes down to is when you're starting to think bigger and you're starting to realize that life is what you make it, you're going to start to understand that if you don't set large goals, you're going to end up hitting small goals, and those don't do anything for you. Those are not going to change your life. The real growth and the real progress comes when you start to level up. It comes when you start to push yourself. And one of my favorite sayings, I think it's Les Brown, is shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you might end up amongst the stars. Okay. And it comes down to, though, really understanding yourself on a deeper level and asking yourself, why do I think that this is big, right? Why is this really a big, audacious goal for me when I could be thinking much more bigger? Okay. Most people live inside of a small, compact box where they're stuck and they want to know how to get out. And the way you get out is you have to start thinking 10 times of what you're doing. And the fact of the matter is, it's actually easier to go 10x than it is to just go 2x, right? And that sounds crazy. But once you start to really embrace the idea that you want to think bigger, you want to have a large life, you want to do more with your reality, you start to figure out ways to be resourceful. You figure out ways to be creative. You figure out ways to start to push yourself to that next level. I remember when I joined the oil field, I was making 150,000 a year, and I thought that was some serious money, right? I thought that was big time, and it was for me back then. I was just fresh out the military. It was like 20 somethings. And 150,000 a year, was awesome, but I was killing myself to make that money, right? I was doing, I think it was like 10 hours on, 10 hours off or whatever. Work for 20 days straight, then be home for 10 days. And it totally ruined my life in a way. But at the same time, it taught me how to work, right? And when I was making $150,000 a year, I thought I was big shit. Then I kind of stepped into sales and I got into the coaching industry, and I closed $250,000 in 7 days. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, this is nothing. This is the beginning of something. And then when I finally made $1,000,000 a year, I thought that was the pinnacle of success. And I realized and then I started hanging out with people that if they were making $1,000,000 a year, they would be crying themselves to sleep at night. Right. So you have to think bigger, though. And you have to break out of your paradigm. You have to break out of the norm, especially if you're hanging out with a bunch of losers and none of them are successful. None of them are thinking big. You need to step away from those group of people and come back maybe at another time when you can help them. Right. And really the biggest thing that I think thinking big does is it pushes you to get out of your comfort zone. And when you're really trying to start to think, how can I think big? You got to think of a huge number. And then you have to listen to the bullshit that the little voice in your mind tells you, right? If you want to make $10 million, right as soon as you say that, there's going to be some little thing in your voice that says, oh, I can never do that, right? And then you need to start asking yourself, why is that there? What is this limiting belief that is holding me back? Because if you cannot conquer your limiting beliefs, you will never hit those goals. You will never be successful. And the reason that you've probably been held back for so long is you think that little voice in your head is you when you are unlimited, right? There is an abundance of you. There is no limit to the amount of things that you can learn. There's no limit to the amount of things that you can do, right? Well, there is a limit to the amount of things you can do, but there's no limit to the amount of money you can earn, right? There is an uncapped potential that you've never even thought about. And what you need to start to understand is as soon as you can break free of small thinking, you'll start to want to be around other people that are thinking bigger, other people that are already finding ways to make a lot of money, finding ways to grow rapidly, okay? And again, thinking big is not about grandiose dreams or unpractical ambitions. It's expanding your mental horizon, stretching your limits, and daring to envision a life that is far greater than your current one, right? You need to always be growing. You need to always be getting to that next level, and you need to always be expanding your reality. The size of your thinking will determine the size of your results. If you aim for excellence, even if you fall short, you will start to still you will still be miles ahead of other people that are trying to do these things, right? So you want to surround yourself with big thinkers, ambitious people, successful people, positive people, because this is the reality that you want to be in anyways. Now, if none of that stuff is in your environment, then you need to start to figure out ways to manipulate your environment to have more positivity, to have more good things around them. And you need to become like, you remember that old game like Duck Hunter? So whenever you set your big audacious goals and you start to think about it and you hear that little negative voice, you need to start just like shooting those negative thoughts down, okay? Those negative thoughts are never going to help you become successful, right? There's always two in meditation, there are two mindsets or two heart sets that you can be in. You can either be in suffering or you can be in the abundance, right? And you always want to tend to get away from the suffering because it is very easy to fall into the victim mentality. And those victim mentalities, nothing in that world is going to help you hit your big audacious goal, help you think more creatively, help you get bigger, help you make more money. Those are going to keep you stuck. And excuses are the biggest load of crap that you can ever tell yourself. Because if you just fall into your excuses, it is just a temporary relief from a lifetime of pain. And it is holding you back from the true potential that you could have. Okay. So when excuses come into your mind, you need to shoot those down. And instead of telling yourself, I can't do this, you need to start asking yourself, how can I make this happen? And an even better question is, how can I make this happen and make it happen easy? What if this was simple? What if making $10 million was simple? What would that look like, right? What would that be? So you have to start to just think bigger, and you have to start to become more comfortable with hitting your big audacious goals and trying to strive for them. And I know a lot of people think, oh, it's fun to talk about this, but in reality, this and this, that's your limiting belief. That's your bullshit that you're feeding yourself every day. You're brushing your teeth to that when you could be thinking life is abundant. I have an unlimited potential. Anything that anyone else has already created or done or experienced, I could potentially do that well, or I could even do that better. Okay, so thinking bigger is the healthy mindset that you need to have, that you need to bring to the table for yourself because you matter. Okay, a lot of people have a lack of a ability to think large because they don't love themselves. They don't think they're worth it. You need to escape from that poverty mindset and go into your abundant mindset and start to ask yourself, what is it that I could do today that would get me closer to my big, crazy goal? Okay. And your big, crazy goal, you really need to focus on it. You really need to think about it, and you need to take yourself serious, because if you take it serious, if you take the action, if you stay consistent, you will hit your large goal. And it takes just as much energy to hit a large, crazy goal as it does to hit a small, stupid goal. Okay. So you play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play real, life-changing opportunities and take it seriously and give it your all. You will start to hit these new goals. You will start to get to that next level of your life. So your thoughts about yourself set the tone for how others see you. Okay. Successful people have a different way that they carry themselves. People that are on a mission, people like that stuff. There's so many do nothings in this world. There's so many NPCs that are just going with the flow, that if you actually have passion about something, if you actually have drive, if you're actually going after something, they would love to help you. They would love to hop on the bandwagon and become part of your big dream and help it happen. Okay, you just have to have the clarity of vision to really want to go after something that means something to you, that will set your the record straight. And a big thing about thinking big is attaching a why to it, right? So if you want to make $10 million, why do you want to make $10 million? Because cash is trash. You want some reason to hit this goal. Now, the goal could just be to hit this, to see what you're worth. And I totally agree with that. But it's also, if I hit $10 million, what does that mean for my family? What does that mean for my friends? What does that mean for my life, the trajectory of what I can do with this time that I have on this earth, right? These are the important things that you need to have. It almost maybe will want to bring you to tears so that every day when you wake up, you have a mission to go after. You have to think big. The other thing I think that comes down to thinking big is it has to be your goal, right? If you're not serious about your goal, you just want money because you think money is cool, you're going to fail. But if you have a goal that means something to you, that deep inside of you, you know you are sent to this world to do and to create, and then you wake up every day with a fiery passion to go after it, your thinking is going to be the reason that you continue forward. When there's different times and different seasons of life, you're going to be able to have this big, audacious goal and think big, right? And then you're going to understand that if I stay consistent, if I keep pushing, if I keep going towards this goal, I will hit it someday. That's the biggest thing. Most people forget all the work they've already done by the time they finally start to get some success. They forget that they started on a journey 5 years ago and they're just now reaping the rewards of what they were doing 5 years ago. So when you're thinking big, you're also paying it forward to your future self. Okay. You are saying, if I think big now, if I take action today, if I go forward, my future self will be eternally grateful because they will be living an amazing life. Right. And the whole point of life is to grow. It's to continue to get better. You know, trees are not going to stop growing because somebody talks bad to them, because somebody hurts the tree's feeling. The tree is not going to shrink. The tree is going to grow as big and abundant as it possibly can. And when you start to realize that, you're going to start to realize that this universe that we're all part of wants you to expand. It is an expanding universe. It is always growing. It is always getting bigger, getting better, and growing. The universe is on your side. You have to allow it to flow and allow it to push yourself to your limit so that you can actually see what you're made of. That's a big deal. Right. So you want to design your surroundings carefully. You want to have a winning attitude as well. You can't hit your big goal if you wake up as like a crabby butthole every day, right? You have to get yourself in the right state of mind. You have to have a morning routine, or you have to have something that allows you to have that moment of clarity that says, okay, this is my life. This is what I'm doing today, so that I can go and continue to think bigger, so that I can go and continue to live my best life and reach my goals and hit the big milestones that I want to get to. Okay. And I mean, I think the big reason that people don't think big is because they lack creativity. They lack clarity. They lack creativity, and they lack resourcefulness. They've never been put into a situation where they have no money and they have no hopes, and they haven't been able to basically break free and figure it out. Right. I've been there so many fucking times that I know that rock bottom has nothing on me. I've fallen through rock bottom's floor and been to some of the darkest places in my entire life. I've been to Afghanistan. I've had totally terrible things happen to me and my family in my life. And I know now that nothing can hurt me. Okay. So I'm not scared of the bottom. What I want, though, is the future of a legacy, of something that I can be proud of. Right. So I have to think bigger for everybody. And you do too, because you matter. If you can actually focus and hit your big goals, again, what is that going to mean? Not only for you, but for your family, for your friends, for the people around you, for your clients, for the people that you affect. Okay. It is your responsibility, if you have the motivation and if you have the ability, to think bigger and do more. Okay. I know a lot of rich people that are complete pieces of shit, right? And they're not doing anything for anybody else except for themselves. What needs to happen is you need to be able to think bigger and become so abundant that you can help others around you that are less fortunate, right? So the thinking big is just the first step of this process, right? The next step that you have to understand is thinking creatively, thinking resourcefully, and understanding that if somebody else has done what you've done, right? Don't reinvent the wheel, but that also means that it's possible. It's possible. Your big dream is possible. and it's worth it for you to go after it. And if it means enough to you, then nothing will stop you, right? Now, whenever life tends to throw up these big walls, right? And we just keep hitting our head on the wall, keep hitting our head on the wall, we typically have to just keep going, and we have to learn something new. We have to find a new mentor. We have to figure out how to climb over the wall, go under the wall, whatever we have to do to get to that next level. But the reality is that if it means enough to you, if it is worth it to you, if you keep pushing and keep fighting, eventually life will open up a door for you, right? Life will become your companion and help you do this thing that you want to do, right? It's this amazing thing that some people will say that it's impossible, right? Some people will say that it can't be done. But if you believe in it, if you have the belief that you can do these things and you relentlessly pursue it, it will happen. Life will yield to your relentlessness. Life will give in eventually, and you will find a way around. You got to be like water, right? You don't see water getting stopped, right? Water finds a way to keep moving, to keep flowing, to keep going. And if you know where you are heading and you know what you're going for, that is exactly where you will end up, right? So you have a choice to think small or think bigger and do more with your life and be successful, not just for yourself, but for the other people around you and the other people in your life as well. Because if you lead by example, if you take massive action, you are inevitably going to hit those crazy, hairy, audacious goals, and you are going to get there, okay? But you have to stay the path, right? Or at least you have to deviate a little bit and come back and come and know where you're heading or where your North Star is. And you don't have to know exactly how you're going to do it, but you have to just get started. You will not be blessed with anything unless you get started on the path to your big, crazy goals, right? It's not just enough to think about it. You also have to take action, right? So get in the habit of thinking bigger and talking bigger, right? So whenever you're coming up with numbers, you have to think bigger. You have to 10x it, right? And sometimes when you're looking at the numbers, 10xing it becomes like it's impossible, right? That's not what you want to do. You want to understand that it's not impossible. That if somebody else has done this before, or if I'm going to be the first one to do this, I will have to figure out how to do this, right? And that's when you have to start to think creatively. All right. Whenever you throw up that wall that says it's impossible, I don't know how I could ever do this, you have to ask yourself the opposite of that. You have to say, okay, what if this was possible? What if I did know how to do this? What would that look like? Right. And then start to get creative with yourself. Getting creative is one of the most powerful tools that we have as human beings. It is possibly the last advantage that we can actually have with AI and all this other crap that's going on. So be sure to invest heavily in your own creativity and your own ability to think differently than most people. That's a big key thing too. I would say, 95% of people are going to not do anything with their lives, right? They are not going to go for their big goals. So that means you have to think differently than the 95%. You have to do things differently. To be greatness, to have a legend is to be understood, right? Or to be misunderstood. For greatness, you have to be misunderstood is what I'm trying to say. So you have to start to think different than the rest of the people that are out there, right? You have to be a force of nature for good, for your good, for people's good, or just be a force of nature that just conquers and crushes their goals and goes after what it is that they want in this life because you deserve it, because you need it. Okay. So going back to the big ideas of thinking big, you just have to start thinking big. Think bigger numbers, talk bigger numbers, set enormous goals that you have no business even imagining, and then surround yourself with people and evidence that those goals are possible. That's so powerful. All right. And it doesn't cost more energy to think bigger. Remember that. It's the same amount of energy to think big as it is to think small. And be unreasonable in your pursuits. Okay. People are going to judge you no matter what. But sometimes reasonable men and women need to do unreasonable things to achieve things that people have never had around them before, right? Even some people that are successful, they park, right? They go for their goals, they get a little bit of success, and they stop. That's why you need these bigger goals, okay? So that you know that you are making forward momentum on one of the biggest goals that you could ever have in your life, right? the big mountain, whatever your big, hairy, audacious goal is, as long as you're making momentum and you know that even the first little bits of success is not the end that you want to get to, this is why you need to have bigger goals, right? I wish somebody when I was younger would have told me to have even bigger goals, because I know that I would have hit them, right? I never had anybody around me that was saying these kinds of things and pushing me in that kind of direction. I had to do this all by myself. So that's why I'm telling it to you. You need to think bigger. The first step, talk bigger, think bigger, be around people that have done what you're trying to do or are far past you, and learn from them. Okay. Listen to them, understand what it is that they did to find the success. Copy them if you have to, whatever it is, right? Actually, there's a lot of people that just copy rich people and make a lot of money. It's a great way to do it. I'm not going to lie. Another thing though, is once you've started to get comfortable with thinking big, you need to think bigger, but it also comes down to starting to become creative. Okay. Starting to become resourceful, understanding that if anybody in this life has ever had a problem or hit a roadblock, that there's probably a book written on how to handle that problem and how to get past it. Okay. There's probably been multiple generations of people who have had the exact same issue that you're running into that can help you solve it, which means there is no more problems. Okay. There's just a period of time where you have to find the solution, right? The guy that invented the light bulb, right? He tried like 5,000 different times, and then he finally found the one way to actually build a light bulb. And he never said, that he was crazy. He basically just said that what he is doing has been finding 5,000 ways that didn't work, right? So you just have to keep being resilient and keep on being tenacious until you finally can find the way to get through, and you will find a way to get through. All right, but you need to think bigger. Add a zero. Add something that's going to take you to that next level so that you can really start to understand that thinking bigger is going to free you from a life of poverty, from a life of suffering, because there is beauty on the other side of your big, crazy goals. Hitting your goals, stacking small wins daily is going to allow you to become successful in the end. All right. So I think that's good. I think the biggest thing, again, also is confidence. You need to work on your confidence daily. You need to, have the confidence of a 6-year-old in a Batman costume at 10 a.m., not going to bed, right? You gotta hold on to that. And the way you build confidence is by stacking those little wins. Keep getting little wins, keep moving towards your goal. And just understand that whenever you do think bigger, right? Have those unreasonable goals that are bigger than you even want to admit or even think about, and then start to get creative on how you can make that happen, right? How can you slowly but surely pursue this amazing goal that would change your life forever, all right? And get comfortable with that goal. And then as soon as you're comfortable with that goal, hit an even bigger goal. Go even bigger, because life is abundant. There is no universe that does not want you to expand exponentially or grow, right? That is your own limiting beliefs. And you need to understand that thinking bigger is the first part of truly becoming successful and truly getting where you want to go in life. All right. And I want to basically just leave you guys with that. I want you to think bigger, think more creatively. Excuses are for losers, right? The comfort food of the mind is the excuse. So it's failure. It's a disease, and excuses only offer temporary relief, but rob you from your true potential, right? So think bigger, think big, start small, act now. And that's going to be basically the message that I'm leaving you with today. So whatever you're going towards, whatever your big goal is, double it, right? Add a zero onto it. And it is, especially in business, it's easier to 10x your business than it is to 2x your business, because once you start to put the movements in place for what it would be like to 10x it, then you basically have to push yourself to that level. So go out there, guys, be successful. Let's crush it. Appreciate you. Think bigger. Boom, bada bing. Now let's see.